Are at about 4 or 5 after. Thanks. Are we ready?
Whenever you are ready.
All righty, sir. All right. Let's take a look at just a really brief status before we get into the UAT stuff again. We're working on these areas right here. Pre-screening as in pre-screening customers, email management, training program. We're just about to get that to where we'll get that back into UAT. Today will just be the ETPL pre-screening again with all the changes that have been going on to it. Training program approval workflow. We've been working on that, making sure that's buttoned up. Goals and objectives. And we made some updates to our LWIA filtering in different lists, so to speak, service collections, career plan, electronic signatures. We're working through all those things, continually to build out different areas of the system. Our current discovery is in going on right now. In fact, in an on-site meeting in both Chicago and Springfield with customer flow and assessments, and then applications, goals, objectives, eligibility, certification, employment credentials. So those are the kinds of things that are going on. We have several streams of requirements that are going on simultaneously. Probably next week, they'll bring you some of that requirement documentation. Um, so that's kind of where we are today. I'm going to reintroduce you to UAT that some of you participated in a couple releases back, release three, or we had release three on the pre-screening, ETPL pre-screening. Now we're going to have release five be ETPL pre-screening again. We made a lot of changes to the wording, and we still have one change we found yesterday, but it's pretty tight, and we want you all to bang around on it. And I'm going to show you how in a demonstration here. Um, and this is a situation where you have a provider, potentially, a new provider. First time they want to get their training program onto the ETPL, and as opposed to calling an LWIA and having them do this essentially for them, they're going to do this themselves. And the first part of that the first part of getting their training program on there, the first part of that is to get a pre-screening. We want to make sure that these providers know, and essentially by answering these questions, do they know what qualifies a provider to be on ETPL, and also provide some documentation to support that provider's chances of getting on ETPL. And it's a pre-screening. Just remember when I talk about pre-screening on a provider, that provider could have multiple, they could fall into multiple categories of a provider description, and we'll look at that. But that doesn't matter. We're not trying to capture all the things that they might provide. We're just saying if you basically primarily are in one of these, then you can get through pre-screening and then you can go add your training programs. We collect all the information that's necessary through the training program screens, which you'll see in a couple of weeks. Okay, without further ado, I'm going to show you where stuff is again, just so you kind of remember. This is the project site, the IWDS transition project that Kelly keeps up to date. And if you scroll down on that page and you see this resources, you'll see a full list of resources. And if you go to that full list of resources, you will see a list of different resources. Now, you have to look for it a little bit, but you'll see UAT Release 5 Cycle 1 UAT Guide. We'll go through that today. And you can hit that link right there. I've got it up already. It'll download a copy for you. And then right here is the notebook. And the notebook for UAT, just a reminder, is when you hit that link, you'll go to this. I get this out of the way. You'll go to this notebook. Okay, you'll look for Release 5, Cycle 1 here. And then these are just different areas that have been broken out for you to report on. If you just remember, for example, in Release 3, we have example of how you would report something, and then similar pages that we have here. Now, if you want and you feel inclined, you can go back and look at the stuff that's in 3 if you want, and you could see some of these changes that were requested here, how they are in the new. But this is where you will give any issues, give any feedback, even if just saying, hey, I got through it okay. That's a good thing too. We really want participation in this UAT from the AWIA field perspective, because we want a better system for you guys. So this one's a little different because you're looking at the system as a provider, right? So this wouldn't be as you as a user of IWDS 2.0. This is actually as a provider. And this is really an unauthenticated provider. In other words, they don't have an account yet. But I'll tell you again, remind you again how that all ties together and how we kind of make sure we're not getting garbage in here. Okay. I divided this thing up into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sections here. The basics of pre-screening is really, once you give your provider information and your email to connect us to you, then there's really 3 steps. There's always 3 steps, no matter what you do. There's a description of the provider, there's an in-state, out-of-state page, and then according to the description of the provider choice, you'll get one more page. It may seem a lot like when I go through it, because I'm going to go back and forth through it and we'll pick different options. But the reality of it is, once you put your information in there to get the email so you can trace it back into the system, then there's only 3 steps. That step is provider description, in-state, out-of-state, and then some questions based upon who you are as a provider. Okay? All right. Before I get going into this any deeper, I want to make sure there's no questions here about how you can get to this. And I think also, Kelly, you'll be sending out links also. Is that correct?
Yes, I'll send a recap this
Yeah,
afternoon.
you'll send a
That'll
recap and links. Okay, great. All right. So if you forget what I'm talking about here with this project page or whatever, that's okay. You'll get some links to it, but you're looking for release 5 and you're looking for the UAT notebook. Those are the two things you're looking for. And in this document here for release 5 is what I'm going to go to next. You'll see this document. This document here is a guide, a step-by-step guide, basically showing you in here all the pages and what they really are for and how the questions and answers are provided in the screens. You don't have to spend a whole lot of time if you don't want to, because you can get right into the system, and this linear flat document doesn't might confuse you. So, but that's all right. I want you to have all this. And the first thing we talk about is the expectations. And I want to talk about that again. Your UAT task will focus on the key areas listed below. That's the email verification, completion of all pre-screening pages cleared to submit to training. Okay, so, and I'll show you how you can go back through multiple times, because we have a method to use a fake email for testing purposes, so you don't have to keep going back and trying to get in your email, because if you use your email more than once, it's going to try to take you back to the same pre-screen, because that's part of the identification of a user. So we'll want you, in order for you to go through different paths, there's a couple ways. One is go through a path, don't finish the last page, go back and go through another path. I'll show you that. Another way is to just put in, start again with a new fake provider and a new fake email. Okay. We would like to see you get your testing completed by July, Thursday, July 3rd. Well, April, wasn't there? Thursday, July 3rd. So by next, I think that's next Thursday, end of day next Thursday. We want to get this done before the holiday. So try to get your information. And when I say done, it's like you've gone through the pages, you've tried it out, and any questions you have, you put it into that notebook. Any issues you've had, you put into that notebook. Any suggestions of improvement, you put it into that notebook, and just like normal. And so that way we can gather all those things up. We can find out anything that is a bug or an issue or an enhancement. And let me talk about that a little bit. Okay. Be sure to test thoroughly, meaning try all the different routes. Put your head into a provider position. You know what your different provider types are, what they provide. So, whether it's a college, a community college, a university, public, private, a CBO, FBO, proprietary school, whatever it is. Try some different things. You can even try some that uh, you actually have data on. So, okay, there's not going to be any kind of PII problems here, because this is about providers. It's not about individuals. So if you wanted to use some real world providers, that's totally okay. If you hit an FEIN that's in our system of data that we've already converted over, it will tell you you can't use that because this is for new ones. So it may or you may have to, but you can also get around that by just modifying the FEIN a little bit. So test thoroughly, detail oriented. Try to include, if you have an issue in that, and try to include the steps to reproduce the issue, screenshots or recordings if at all possible. I was in Chrome, Edge. That's always nice. Maybe I was on an iPad or tablet of some kind. That's great news. We would like to hear those kinds of things. And then what you expected to happen, and then what actually happened. So you say, I expected this to take me to the next. When I hit the next button, I expected it to take me to the next page, but gave me an error screen and I have no idea why or whatever that was. Okay. Bugs, issues, and enhancement. You'll put them in there. You do not have to worry about classifying anything you put into that notebook. You can just put it in there, but we'll tell you how we classify it. We classify them as bugs, issues, or enhancements, and we try to record everything. As I say, recording bugs and issues, we put over into um, our our tracking software, and then we will bring back an ID, usually a key to that from our tracking software, so that you know that we actually saw it. We put in information about, um, if it's not a bug or an issue, we'll tell you that. Okay. Um, Enhancements we probably put on our, we'll look at them and put them on our change request. But a bug is when the system doesn't perform as expected, and the system is not performing according to the requirements. That's a bug. Issue is that the system is performing according to the requirements, but now that we have gotten into the system, we feel like that requirement might not have been captured correctly, or that requirement is wrong, or you feel like it doesn't really work as you expect, even though it works exactly like the requirements. Then we classify that as an issue. We fix a lot of issues during this time frame because we're a long ways from production, so it may just be fixed. Okay. Enhancements, it could be enhancements, visual enhancements, like, well, we'd like to have some more information, maybe an info bubble here. We'd like to have a little more space. We don't like the formatting of this. It's hard to read, whatever. Font small, whatever. Those are all like enhancements that we can look at too, and we may drop some of those in our development time frame as long as we have time for them. Think like that end user, think like a provider in this situation. You're going to be a provider. Okay. Be specific and thorough, provide context. Always do that for us. I was going to show you something on the notebook real quick. If I go back, I'll show you some stuff here. If I go back to 3, you will see, I'll put in my name or my initials or whatever and the date that I responded to that. And if it's a logged issue or bug, you'll see something like this that just basically says 15113. That's what I got from our ops system, so that I know where that's at, 15114. So I want to make sure you know that myself or another BA we see your note, we're responding to it. We don't want you to put something out there and say, well, whatever happened to it? Why did I even do this? We want to make sure we respond to those types of things. You'll see most of the time. If you folks could stay away from a red font, then I can use the red font. But I noticed that some folks started using red font, so I had to put a background on it so you could see it, because it blended in. So that's the only reason there's a blue font or a blue background on that. But I usually just use a red font um, and just try to respond to everything that you all put out there. Okay. All right. You'll be in cycle 5. It's all clean slate, and we're going to get going here with how this works. Okay. This document will tell you pretty much everything you need to know about how to get into it and what is expected in the screen. So if you got a screen that looked wonky, so to speak, or something didn't work, you could come back to this document and say, well, what's that supposed to look like? And that would definitely be a problem. When you get to the UAT site, which that link is in this document, and I think Kelly also sends that link out. But if you look at this document right here, this is the link to the non-authenticated UAT site. Okay, so you click that link and it'll bring up, it will bring up this page here. Okay. Okay, so that link will bring it up bring it to the home page. And when you get to that home page, do not worry about this login. Don't worry about this right now. This will come in your next UAT. This is going to be kind of cool. And I'm actually going to bounce back and talk about that before we actually go to the real live site. This right here is a tools menu. You will go right to ETPL right here. Now, just a reminder, this is not the way this is not a landing page that the provider is going to get. They're going to get a landing page, a web content page that gives them all kinds of information, allows them to search the ETPL before they even get into this. And it gives them all kinds of information about what, when, why, where that they want to be on the ETPL. And then there's a spot on that page that will say, yeah, I'd like to be on the ETPL. When they hit that link, it's going to go to where this goes. But for you all, when you get to this, let's just call it a testing homepage, go to the menu, drop it down, and you'll see this ETPL right here. That will get you into your first page, which is this one. Okay. All right. So what is the concept? The concept again is you enter your provider name. It may or may, it's okay if it's not the exact name. It's going to be the provider name when we solidify this, when they actually enter the provider into the system. But that's okay. We're identifying, just making sure that we don't have the FEIN, and you could put an FEIN or you can select this down and it should be Rapids ID. If you see SSN in this dropdown, do not worry about it. It should not be in there. It's an identification type in our system, but it should not be in here for this provider. They're working to get that back out of there, but it should be FEIN or Rapids ID. They can enter either one. Okay. And then they'll enter a contact email address. This should be their email address that they have access to that address. Okay. So that inbox. What we do then when they hit that next button is we say, okay, we'll give them a page basically that says, we just sent you an email. Please look at the link in the email and follow that back in to start your pre-screening process. So this is just an identification page that allows us to collect the pre-screening information and attach it to an email address. And what we do then later on is when they finally get through the pre-screening and they go get their access, and they're going to be able to do that on their own, then when they log into with their access, with their new access, when they log into the system as a user, it will tie them to this information, this provider only, and that email address. So those two email addresses will match up and we'll be able to take them on their way. And they'll be able to create a pending provider record, a pending provider location record, a pending first contact record, and then any programs, training programs that they want to create. They do all of that and submit the training programs, and then it goes through a review process, first to the ALWIA, then to the state. Okay, so normally, and if you do it, you'll get that same email. It should work, and that email will look like this. And when you get that email, you'll follow that link back in, and it'll take you right to that second page. Now, you do not have to use your email in this testing platform. Okay. If you want to see how that works, you can do that. But if you use anything in front of @fakemail.com, you will just get a button that says continue on, and it'll take you right to your third page. But we will log that. It has to be unique, and we will log that fake mail address to your pre-screening testing. Okay. So I'll show you that too. Okay. So before I go on, does anybody have any questions on how you get into the ETPL pre-screening or what that first collection page is about for provider and email address?
You mentioned something about the provider putting in that information. What happened if they already had that information in there and they wanted to do how they doing business as instead of provider name. Some providers have doing business as.
It's okay as long as they have match up with well, okay, first of all, here's the thing. That's a good question. Two things can kind of happen here, okay? One thing is, first of all, we don't care too much about the provider name. I know that sounds silly, but at this point right here, right now, they do not have to match any DBA or anything else because they're not in the system yet. This is only for new providers that are not in our system, right? So they're not in the system. They can put whatever provider name they want. But what is important is if they have the FEIN or Rapids ID, if it matches one that's already in our system, we give them a screen that said, hey, someone might have already started this process or someone you are this is in the system already, and it gives them contact information to that provider so that they can, if it's their provider, right, they can actually say, oh, we're already in here, I don't have to do this. Okay, that's one thing that could happen. They could be in our system already in ETPL, or just in as a provider in IWDS. And if they are, there's no need to go through the screening process and we give them contact information. The second thing that could happen is they could come in, put that identification number, that FEIN or Rapids ID in there, put their email address in there, and we find out that somebody has already started the pre-screening process. Now, this is a little trickier because we don't want to just give out information about who started that process. So we give them information to contact someone at the LWIA or the DCO, okay? Saying, hey, this pre-screening has already started. You might want to contact LWIA or contact DCO, whichever way we send them. And then that person will have a place where they can, and I can show you that we'll have a list of pre-screening starts, and they can see those, and then they can decide, they can talk on the phone and decide if this is a legitimate person. There is a good why would we do that is because if somebody just goes in and types anybody in and types in and there's an email address, it could be malicious. It could be just, and then if they say, hey, you can't go any farther, you might want to contact this, they'll probably be done. They won't go contact anybody. We don't want that garbage. Okay. But if they truly believe they should be doing this pre-screening process and they find out it's already been started, it might have just been started because someone else in the organization started it because there was a mix-up on who was going to do it, or they didn't know, or maybe they started it and left and they weren't back or whatever. In that case, if they follow that through and talk to someone at DC, at the state or the local, then they can work through that issue and decide if they should go on or not. Okay. So that's the two cases. But the name itself, we don't at this point because it should be a pending record. We don't care too much. And I'll show you later on where they will be able to correct all the information or keep it the same or whatever. I hope that kind of answers your question.
It did. That's very yeah, that was detailed. Also, it's when they submit this thing in, right?
Yep.
And and do they get an email saying what will be the
Yep.
next process, or how long would it take before like myself or the state will reply back to your email? Because I don't want them to feel that okay, now they gotta wait and see how long before somebody get back. Would there be some kind of
Yes. Yes. They're going to get communication emails all the way through the process, just like you would like if you order something from Amazon or something. You know what I'm saying? You get emails
right?
that say, hey, you did this, then you ordered, then we're shipping. And, you're going to get emails through that process. We don't have the same type of emails, obviously, but we're going to say, you got through the pre-screening, you logged in, great. Hey, don't forget to create your provider record if they didn't go any farther in a day or two. Um, and then once you create the provider record and all that, then maybe we might even say a little later, hey, don't forget to create your training program. And then once they submit the training programs, okay, that's when it'll become evident to the local administrator if it's in state. And then and that they'll get an email also. One, that provider will get an email that says, yep, submitted successfully, you know, and I think the
Okay.
rule today is 30 days, but I'm not sure. I can't remember for sure, but
Yeah, about that. Yeah.
and then you'll get an email too, and you'll have a list to work off of too, whoever's doing that in the L wheel.
With them filling out the stuff they program, the training they want to provide, let's say they put in an ONET code that is low growth in the red.
Yes.
Would it stop them from moving forward?
No, it will not.
So we would have to
You'll
address
just have to,
that.
yeah, you'll have to say, you'll either have to correct that or communicate to them to correct it. And that's all in that training program. And we won't cover that today, but we'll cover that in a couple of weeks. That's in the training program build out. When they build
Okay.
out the training program, they have to put in at least 3 ONET codes. And
Oh, they do? I
yeah,
thought it was two.
they're going to put in 3 now.
Oh,
And
okay.
the other thing is, we're working on this, is we're going to try to do a crosswalk between SIPs and ONET codes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Those are the two codes I'll be
Yeah.
looking at.
So the ONET organization or whatever has an access point. Let's just call it an access point that we can call into behind the scenes. And when they put the ONET in and it doesn't really relate to the SIP, the course, course information number, then it's going to give them a warning. It's still not going to stop them, but it's going to say, just to let you know, this ONET code you put in, or these 3 or whatever, really don't match up with that course, because we're going to try to do that. I'm just saying, because that crosswalk connection for us is available if we can get to it from our back end. Okay.
Okay, because I'm doing one currently, this new training provider, and they train in, I want to say, gun firing, target ranges and stuff for security officers and stuff. But when we look at the ONET code, every code is low growth.
Yeah.
So what I had to do, I'm like, hold up, this is getting a little bit more technical. I pass it over to the board, and,
Yeah.
y'all decide if y'all want this thing, because everything in Overlake County is showing there's no job availability for this.
Right.
My director was saying, man, why we even go this far and give hope to a provider if it's not going to meet those
That's correct.
ONET code or
Yeah.
SIP code.
And
So
that's part of your decision process. You bet.
yeah, and it's sad they go through all of this stuff and they complain about the form not being fillable. They got to print it, write it, scan it back. I say, yeah, but I told them we're working on a new way of making provider input the information a little bit more better than what we currently is doing now. But okay, I
All
just
right.
wanted to
So good.
just want.
So once you hit this link in the email, or you hit the continue button when you're testing, this is what I call really the first page. It's the first page, which we collect the provider description. Whatever name you put into that first page, it comes up here. So you kind of know, hey, I am in the right place. You put a description in here, including accreditation, specific programs offered, such and this can be good information. And then you select one of these 4. Okay. If you select the 4th one, it's going to give you basically an error page and a contact methodology. We'll go to that in a second. If you select one of these 3, they could expand. They do all of them and ask you other questions. So you got the college, university. Just to summarize, you've got the registered apprenticeship programs, and then you've got other public, private, proprietary, community organizations, faith-based, joint labor, those kinds of things. Adult.
I have a question.
Yes.
In the box, when you say specific programs offered, are those the ones that they are looking to add, or everything?
Yeah, it can be. It's not going to stop them. We're not stopping them if they put whatever they put in there, we're not stopping them. So it's just going to be for you reviewing the program and for them to kind of tell what they provide. It could be the new ones. It could be more than the new ones. That box will take a lot, but it could be little or a lot. Okay. We're not really stopping them. They could put the word description in there. That's obviously going to not be too good down the road if they did that, because you guys are going to look at that review process. You're going to look at the data and you're going to say, whoa, you couldn't even fill this out. But the training programs themselves that they're putting in will have all the data you need to. So, okay. So another question here. Okay, yeah, I'll show that. We'll hit that in a minute. Okay. So, and remember, this is very small, even though it's a very small step, it allows us to kind of clean out anybody that try to keep from wasting your time, you or the state. In other words, people that think they want to be on this or can be on this, but really when they get the questions and they go through them and try to answer them, they realize that they can't. And if they can't, there's no reason for you to have to deal with that. Okay. The second one is the wrap, and the third one is that. And we're going to show you each one of those when they expand. So when you hit one of these, they will expand. That's the answers. Okay. If you pick college or university offers programs leading to official recognized qualifications, then you're going to get a question on public or private, because we ask a different set of questions for public or private. And then what type of credentials does your institution primarily award? We know we've been around on this several times. They could award multiple. That's okay. We just want, what do you primarily award? Are you community college that primarily only awards certificates, or are you community college that maybe gives associate's degree, or are you a university that gives bachelor's degrees? It's okay. It's just, that's a single selection and they can select any of those. It's the primary one. Okay.
On the public and private, the institute is would there be like a little bubble so the person who's doing it from not us, they would know the difference if they're public or private, because sometimes they might come back and ask, well, what should we put? Should we put it we public? We do this or that. We private. Should there be some kind of
Yeah,
bubble?
we can do that. Yep.
Okay.
Can you put that in the notes so I can capture that? Because we
Oh,
can put a little info bubble here and they can hit it and it'll say, this is what it means to be a public university or college, and this is what it means to be a private one. We can definitely do that. That's the kind of stuff we definitely want.
you want us to do on the thing there when we go in and check. Okay. You
Yep.
ain't talking about in the chat. Okay.
In that
Gotcha.
note feature, I just
Yes,
I was
yes.
showing you. So
Right.
over here at the notebook, you would go, I'll show you how to do this. You would go in here on the description page. Please have an info, call it info bubble, to describe
Public and
or
private.
private, right?
Right. Oh, okay.
Please do
Okay.
that.
Yes.
All right. And then I'll put that in our notes and respond to that. So, okay.
Yeah, I
And
can
then
see once in
we'll
a
try to get
while
that in. We'll try to get that in. Yep.
they might think public or private, meaning the students they serve. Like, well, we serve the general public. We're open to the public, or they may not realize
Oh,
that
it's
publicly
it's
funded. Like, we
Absolutely.
know what they're saying,
it's
but a
gotta
provider,
be
I could see once in a
like
while.
I'm a
they might
private
get-
college, right? I'm a
Yeah,
Illinois
see
college
where
or
they might. Yeah, I could see like we
Or-
know the difference, but I could see
Because
where the provider might just need.
Yeah, because some of it is universal, some of them is proprietary school, and we got to make sure they know the difference once
Yep.
they go in there.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's not the students
Okay.
they serve; it's how they're funded and everything. So
Yep.
yeah, good idea.
But go back to that. Is that Rory? Go back to that. What is it? What did you mean by what type of
Oh, once
students
it
do
doesn't
they
happen all the
serve?
time. Once in a while over the years, you might, when we've asked a checklist, a provider might just double check and say, do you mean public? Does public and private mean a limitations on the types of students that they can enroll or serve? Like, because some providers will say, yeah, we're public, we're open to the public, we don't
Yeah.
just train for corporations. And it's like, well, no, we know that, but so like we know the difference. But once in a while, yeah, I guess a provider might benefit from just having that clarification if they need it.
Yeah.
They don't always realize private and public means the type of entity you're funding. Are you a publicly funded academic institution, or are you private?
Okay.
Meaning privately owned.
Absolutely, yeah, because they get confused by our terminology. Yes, we in the field, we know what it means, but outside our field, a lot of people doesn't understand our language, and sometimes to have clear clarification is best. So once they read it, they know it.
Yep. Okay. The second answer there is an organization operates programs registered under the National Apprenticeship Act. We put at the end of this, you'll see in the system, I don't know why I didn't capture it, but we put in there, i.e. registered apprenticeship, because this was maybe not as clear as it could have been. We asked public or private on that one when they hit that. And that's all we ask there. The next one, if you answered the third one down, that's the FBO, joint labor. That includes CBO, I'm sorry, and includes FBO labor. There's at first when you hit that, it expands into these three: private nonprofit provider, private for-profit provider, public provider. And then this question here, community-based joint labor management organization, providers of adult education, and as of yesterday, we're going to add one more, which is proprietary training providers. Because you have a thing, like, for example, I got a CDL school that's all I do. Okay. Just CDL preparation. That's a proprietary provider of training. Okay. So we're adding one more. I think it actually came out of our discussion when we first discussed this with you folks, and that's what we're adding here because you couldn't find a place for some of these to go. Okay. And then if you select this one, this providers of adult education, you are going to get an expansion that I don't have here. And I'll show you that in the system. Okay, what I wanted to say was if you have an error page, now what do I mean by an error page? If something you don't check is, if you don't check something that needs to be checked, it'll tell you right there on the page, and I'll show you that. But if you check something, in this case on this first page, like number 4, the type of institution is not listed above, then you're going to get to, when you hit next, you're going to get to an error, what we call an error page. It's not that harsh for them though. It just says not qualified, but it just basically says the responses you provided do not meet the requirements to be an eligible training provider in Illinois under the Workforce Innovation Act. And right, it tells you always what's wrong. This particular thing that was wrong on the previous page is the type of institution not listed. You may contact your local ETPL coordinator by entering the zip code. So because we don't know where they're from at this point, it's not like the old system where we lead with collecting their zip code. We couldn't direct them, and we don't want to direct everybody to the state to get help. We want to direct those that are in your areas, in the LWIAs, to your LWIA contact. They put in their zip, and then it's going to give them, and I'll show you that in a minute, it's going to give them the contact information for the ETPL coordinator in that LWIA. Okay, so they'll get that on any page that they have an answer that they've had on the previous page that's not going to let them through the pre-screen process. Not only that, they can go back when they see that and like, oh, I didn't mean that, or I didn't check that correctly, and they could correct it and go on and get by it. So it depends on, what it is, or maybe they didn't upload a document. I'll show you that. And they go on thinking, I don't have to upload that document. And it'll say you didn't upload the document. And they'll say, well, I guess I do have to upload the document. And they'll go back, try to find the document and get it uploaded. So this is new since the last time you used it. And we do not have all the contact information in there yet, but you'll just get this little thing. You'll see it says this is where the contact information will be. The second step. So first step was the provider description. The second step is to collect if they're in state or out of state or virtual learning. In other words, are you in state and headquartered? This has changed the language too. And this is simplified. It just says located in Illinois, and it tells all that afterwards, or located out of state, it tells all that afterwards. But it also says virtually here. Okay, so if it's all online, as you know, all the out of state and online go directly to the state DCO, LTPL coordinator, ETPL coordinator, for review. And those that are not out of state, those are located in state, we can connect them up and associate them to your LWIAs so that when you look at your review list, you'll see the ones that you need to review. If you take out of state, you have to select the state and upload a document. Out of state will ask which state you're headquartered in. If it's listed in ETPL in which state, you hit yes, it'll give you a list like this. Okay. Yes, here, proof, it will give you an upload. Okay. So that's step 2. Then you'll always have a step 3, but it may be different according to what you have selected on first step. In-state public higher education, you'll have this set of questions, this one here, and these 3. So answers, 2 questions. If you're public higher education, it will allow you, and you say yes, it'll allow you to upload. We're going to go through all this, so I'm going kind of fast in the document itself, but I want to make sure you know that you can refer to this document. You could select the agency, and then if you're private, it has a little different language in here for private higher education, and then do a browse and upload, select the accredited agency. If you are a registered apprenticeship program, it has a different step 3, which it talks about opting in. You can hit this link. It'll open up that PDF. You can download it, fill it out, and load it back up. This is an expansion where you can see more detail information. We just didn't want to clutter the screen and get everybody confused, but they can hit that, and then documentation issued, and they can upload that documentation. Public and private registered apprenticeship have a little different language there. If let me go on down. If you are one in the bottom section, where am I at here? This is still in registered apprenticeship. Community-based or labor management or FBO, whatever. Then you'll have this set of questions here. And that's even for proprietary, the one we're going to add on. So you'll have these questions here. This is expandable, and we're going to go through that. Okay. And any of these, like I say, if you answered no here and you hit next, you get that page that tells you, hey, you can't go on, but you can contact somebody. Okay, yeah, you will get, if you don't answer something exactly, Rory, you'll get in red before you even leave the page. So if you miss something, once you get through, you're going to get this successfully. You're going to get this one here. This will not end up being exactly like it is. This is just a mock-up of a potential, but you're going to get, the provider's going to get information on how do they get access to the system. Before, that was all done by local administrators, and they put the provider in, and then they hit the little checkbox that said training provider, which allowed them to go in and enter. It gave them a generated ID and all that. But now, because we're in multi-authentication, sign-on, Okta account information, they're going to have to get that Okta account, which they'll be able to do self-serve, and then they log in and they'll get right to their information. So a little different, but it won't be this page. But when you get to this page, you'll know you successfully completed a pre-screening. Okay, let's get to the real thing so you can ask some good questions. Whoops, I went the wrong way, sorry. Okay. When you get to here, you will, let me move this. You can't see that, but it's in my way. Okay, when you get to here, it'll look like this. Remember, you do not have to hit this login. This is a test for us, by the way, just to let you know that if we enter one of those email addresses that we got through pre-screening on, then it will take us to the first page of the first screen that they will see when they initially log in. Okay. And I'll show you one of those later, just so you can see. That testing will come in about 2 weeks. So with the training program stuff too. So right now I'm going to go to management tools. I'm going to go to ETPL and I get to that first screen. Okay. If I didn't provide any of this information, I just hit it right now. You'll see, or if I miss something, you'll see how that looks, Rory. This says, well, you got to add this. We can't even find it, do anything for you. So anyway, I'm going to put in, and then put in anything you want there. And then I'm going to put in a new at fakemail.com, so I don't have to go to my email address to do that. Okay, I hit next. It even tells me email verification step was bypassed. Click continue to follow the same link. Obviously, that fake mail email thing will not be available in production, but we're doing that so we can test this many, many times. Okay, so when they go to that link, it'll come to here and say, hey, we just sent you an email. Go follow it, find the email, nothing else. And they go to that link, it'll bring them to this page right here. That's where they go from the link. Okay. Here's the short description. Yeah, whatever they put in there. Okay. I'm going to start with college or university. I'm going to start with public, and I'm going to start with a bachelor's or higher. Okay, so that's the way that works. And I'm going to hit next. The second page, located in Illinois or located out of state, I'm going to locate in Illinois. That's all you have to answer there. The third page says, does the provider have higher education approval recognition letter from the appropriate oversight agency, Illinois Board of Higher Education, to operate in the state? Yes or no? Yes, then I'm going to browse and I'm going to select a file. You can select any junk file you want to. Try to select one that's small, if you will, so we don't have upload a bunch of huge documents. And then all degree granting institutions must be accredited by a regional or national accrediting body to participate in Title IV Higher Education Act student aid programs. Is the provider accredited by agency recognized by US DOL or US Department of Education, not DOL? Yes. And then I would select that agency. Okay. And then I would hit next and I would be successful. Okay. Now, I'll show you here, and you can actually do this if you want. If you go to this testing page and you go to ETPL applications, you will see, if you do this up and down, so it's the most recent date first, you will see the one I just added. Okay. As a resolution process, we will end up having to screen something like this that will provide you with the capability of resolving some of these issues based upon somebody calling in and asking questions and they didn't get through it. Okay. I didn't click a token, right? Because I didn't go to my email. I did submit. Not sure why it's not telling me that. So I'll have to look into that. And it tells you all that. If I didn't submit and I went back to it, I could go to one of these like this one here. I could actually continue this one record here, and it would continue where I left off just for testing purposes. Okay. I'm going to go back into ETPL for a second time, and we're going to take a different course, different path. And then before I submit that last next on that last one, we'll go back. Yes, Rory. Sorry, I didn't see you. Rory? No?
Yeah, actually, it's good that you because I let you that you finish those other couple screens because my question was on this screen, so it's good that you're actually back to the screen, so that works out. I was just curious. We can do the fake mail one. I think when we did the first round of testing on this last month or a few weeks ago, whenever that was, I just kind of was curious to see what the message would look like if it does send us an
Yes.
email. So I did use my work email here,
Yep.
and it worked. It was cool. Gave me the link. But I was just curious, like I know with the FEIN, if it detects that fiend has already been entered, it'll say, hey, this number has already been entered for an entity. Is this your entity or not? Contact for whatever. But if I put in my my same work email address again, does it also let you know, like, hey, that email address has already been entered? And does it say, have you, like, does it give you a message like,
Yeah, let me show.
have you already started an
Well,
application?
actually, if you start one and you put in the same provider ID and the same email address, it'll send another email to you and it'll link you right back to the data you left. Okay.
Okay, that was the two-part
That's the
question.
first
Thank
one.
you. That was
If you
that
don't,
was the
let
second
me
part
go
of my-
over here and grab, let me see what happens. I'll show you what happens.
Yeah. No, good. Because that was the second part of my
That's the
question.
first thing, yeah. And the second thing is if we already start. So let me go in here and let me grab because I don't remember it.
Yeah, that was my second part of my question was
Let me
if the
grab this.
provider does
Actually,
get through and
actually, I
then
can view this data too.
if they started it and
This
then
is the data that I actually
they they abandon the process, maybe they have to go back and check, say, well, I
exactly.
clicked this, but this is telling me I might not meet the criteria.
Yeah,
Let me check with
let
the
me
director of my
find one
school
here.
and see,
Let's try
maybe
this
we
one.
are something and they want to come back and finish it. So it will save their information then. Okay, and they
This
could
will
pick
be a
up
case where let's see how this answers. I'm going to take this email, but I don't know right now. I don't know other than I could see the name, which is the provider name is another test, but they didn't provide me with the ID here, the FEIN, which it looks like we do need that. But I'm going to go ahead and let's see what this says to it for us here. All right, so let's go in here. Let's just put something in here and let's put in that email and let's see what this says. Oh, it's a fake one, so it didn't matter. But when I go here, I'll show you. It's already.
Oh, I saw the welcome back thing. Oh,
it's
cool.
already way into wherever we left. And if I previous back to this, it's got all the data that I left. See what I'm saying?
No, that's okay. That's cool.
So if you did that again, it would take you back to the same one. Okay. Now let me show you something while we're here and let's look at this and so you understand what's going on. I'm going to go over here to entity management and I'm going to pick up my favorite record. And there are some real records in here now and whoa, maybe not in here. Maybe they're not in here. My fault.
Would any of the ones that we started playing
Yeah,
around
I
with
thought,
entering
okay,
from
let's
last
go.
time?
Yeah, they should be. They should
cool.
be.
Okay.
Let me reset this.
I might try to go back and finish the one I was
Let
doing.
me just look at this one here. Okay, you see this right here. If I go here, this college page exists in our system already. Okay, so let me go in here and see what happens. Hopefully I'm not proven as a liar. Now I could put at this point something else, but I'm going to put that in there. And then I'm going to put
Because you could put any name or a different email
I
address.
knew
But if
mail
it's
at.
based on the FEIN, right, that it'll recognize it.
Now, this should say, hey, it's already in there.
Ah, cool. Okay.
And it tells you the contact information. So that, like, for instance, if I was in this organization, but I thought I was supposed to do something, or I thought that I needed to get this on here, or I thought this gives you the main contact, the main location, phone number, so you can contact them and say, because if you really are part of this organization, you probably know who this was, right? And you're
Yeah.
like, oh, okay, we're okay, I guess. We're in there, or maybe I need to call them and ask them something. Okay. So that's what that does. So if they're in the system, that's okay because they're also on the ETPL. So I could go find them on, if somebody says, wait a minute, you're giving information out about this provider. Maybe they don't want that. No, they're on the ETPL. I could go do a
Yeah.
search on ETPL and I could find
Right.
this information out. We're
Yeah.
bringing it right to you right here so you can know, oh, I may need to contact them, or maybe I don't need to contact. Maybe I just say, oh, I guess I don't have to do this. Okay. That's the concept there. Now let me give you another scenario. Okay. It's good to have these scenarios. I hope I'm not confusing everybody, but I'm just trying to give you some scenarios. Let's look at one of these that was not submitted, like this one right here. Okay. Um, let's see. How would I do that? I don't know what this, hold on though. I don't know. If I would give, anyway, I'm gonna have to just tell you because I don't know. If we would enter on one of these that's not submitted, if we would enter the same FEIN or Rapids ID that was entered here, it would say, hey, this has already been started. Okay, it's not in our system, but it's already been started as a pre-screening. Contact the LWIA and give the LWIA's contact information, or contact the state if it was an out-of-state kind of thing. So that's how that would happen. I would have to know this FEIN that was typed in this test here in order to get that message for you. And I don't know it off the top of my head, but that's what you'd get. So you get kind of two different messages based upon what's going on. Okay. All right.
But if
Go
it's
back here. Go
if
ahead.
the FEIN was entered by a prospective provider that was starting this screening process, but
Yes.
let's say they had to abandon it because they got to a screen where they were getting an error, and they're like,
Yes.
well, I'm not sure. I mean, are we a joint labor organization, or are we a nonprofit? Maybe I'll check with. I'm just making this up, but maybe I got to check with my director or something, or the admissions person or something. And so let's say they didn't complete it, like the example showed, they didn't submit. Would that if they typed in their same email or same FEIN, would that bring them to a screen then? I think it did. I think you just showed it where they could pick up where they left off.
Okay. I'll show you this. I'm going to do this 1-1.
Or would it only show if they're already on the
2,
ETPL?
2, 3. I'm going to go through this one here. I'm going to start this one. I'm going to show you what happens here. I'm going to write this stuff down so I don't forget it. Okay. All right. So I start this out. I'm at the second try ink. Okay. So I start this out and I'm going to get in here and say, whatever. And I'm going to say, I got to here. I got this done. And then I got to here. And I said, yeah, we're in state. And I got to here and I stopped. Okay.
Right.
All right. So now let's say that's you and I are in the same organization. Let's say this may not be actually answering your question. We'll get to that too. But let's just say you said, okay, I want to do this. Doesn't have to be the same name, but if it was the same here, and this was, and you started this, it would say, whoa, the ETPL pre-screen process has
okay.
already been started for this provider by a different email address. Now, you may
That's
contact your local ETPL coordinator by entering your zip code below. Okay. Why do we not want to give any information out? We do not want to give that email out because this person may be, we don't know, we don't know what the intentions of this person is.
Exactly.
Right.
Be phishing or some.
Exactly. So or a system or bots fishing around. So we want to say, hey, no. This is just the pre-screen started and you didn't start it. And this could be like you and I are in a meeting, right? And we are talking in our meeting. And we say, hey, you know what? We need to get on the ETPL. And we left the meeting both thinking that we were supposed to do it.
Right.
One of us started it, didn't finish it yet, but they just started it. And then the other one starts it. And then we don't want two records for the same provider, right? We,
Got
yeah. So that's what happens in that scenario. Okay.
Yeah, thanks for demonstrating that.
All right. So let's get back. And it tries to think of scenarios, but let me get back to here. Why didn't it? Oh, let me start over. Okay. All right. Let's just do the, actually, I'm just going to do the other one, Rapids ID. And let's put in here. I have no idea. Hopefully I'm random enough that I don't hit something. All right. We're gonna do the Rapids one. And then we're gonna hit public first. This time we're gonna hit out of state, so you know. Is it on ETPL we're located in? Yeah, let's just say we're located in Connecticut. Does the provider have proof that it's authorized to operate in the chosen state? Yes. So I'm gonna have to add that proof. Now, obviously, the system doesn't know if they have uploaded a good document, a bad document, a picture of themselves, or whatever, but we do get that from them. And you'll be able to see that documentation when you look at the pre-screening data. If you're a reviewer. Here, if we want to opt in, we can hit this and it'll actually give them the form. They can download it and fill it out.
So that form won't be fillable for them?
It is fillable, but not in, oh, yes, it is on the browser. Yeah, it's fillable.
Okay, okay, good.
I thought you had to download it into your PDF, but you can fill it right here. Yeah. And then they'll still have to download it right to their downloads and then upload it right here. Okay.
Got
So I would go out and select that file. I happen to have one of these right here. That's actually one of them. And then okay, this expands like this. So you can see all that information about examples. And then does the RTP provider have documentation issued by the appropriate state agency, like these state agencies? Authorizes them to solicit students and offer, maintain one or more courses of instruction? Yes, there's the authorization. I always keep small files here to do this with. And then I could go on. Now this time I'm not going to go forward. Okay, so if you're in your testing, here's another way you can do a bunch of testing without going through making up new ones and all that. Just go previous back to the start. So if I want to say, okay, no, I want to hit this one now. Okay, then you can go through. I'm going to be, it doesn't really matter here for too much. I'm going to say I'm public. You're going to have that other one here. We're going to get that for you soon, which says proprietary. I'm going to say I'm community based. I don't have any other things. If I was here, I would have the provider of adult education funded through ICCB, and I would have programs are part of the integrated career ICAPS. Okay. Those two questions, if I hit the adult education ones, I don't have a question on joint labor. I don't have a question here. And for proprietary, I will not have another question either. I can go here. I can say, oh, this time I want to go in state. So remember the data is going to be there before, but you can hit another path and use the same email address and all that and the same provider. It's okay. Doesn't matter. This is for similar information on examples. And then does this provider have documentation issued by the appropriate state? Yes. And then I already uploaded something here. So it says edit, but I basically can upload again if I want to. Okay. That's all that edit means.
So you can upload multiple items there, or
No,
restrict you
it's
to one?
replacing it, Robert. It's replacing.
Okay.
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 And then I could come back to here, okay, and I could go again, and I could hit another option. Okay, I'm going to do this one here to show you a little bit how this would work. you'll get the message. If I type in anything right now, it's just going to give me junk, but this is where it's going to end up giving you, when we get all those, we haven't got those loaded yet, all the location proximities to the LWIA. So we're not giving you good data yet. So, but that's just an example of how it will work. We'll give you the contact information for whoever in that LWIA is supposed to be dealing with managing or whatever this ETPL onboarding process. Okay. And that'll be anywhere. So I can get out of that and go back and say, oh, I didn't mean that. I meant that. If I don't answer this, it's going to tell me when I'm on here that I didn't answer it. Okay. So that's different than saying, I didn't answer something correctly. So if I go here, for example, if I say located out of state and I say, is any list ETPL, if I say no and yes here and don't upload, there's already a document there, and I hit next, it'll tell me what the issue is and that same thing, and it'll tell you, let you go to where you need to go. We haven't got the right, just to let you know, we haven't got feeding that back to you yet, but it'll give you an example of how that works. I think that covers it. I want you all to really bang away at this if you can. Provide us with any issues. Is there any questions on how you get to through here? You'll get links, so don't get too excited. But there's the guide. We're on release 5, cycle 1, and here's the notebook here. When you hit the notebook, it'll either come up here or come up in a note, OneNote application if you have that as your default. It'll look the same though. You can put anything you want in here. You can put high if you want, super, because I know then you were actually looking at it. You can, I'm going to put here, I'm not sure Robert did this, on 6/26/25.
Well, thank you.
There you go. And then that will allow you to put anything you want in here. I think it's okay. It's working okay or not. I don't like this wording. Here's my suggestion. Anything in it. Don't be shy. Okay. Any other questions you might have to get you going? The July 3rd at the end of the day would be great.
I got to make sure I try to get it done by next week by the 2nd, because I'm off on the 3rd.
There you
so.
go. Yeah, there you go. That's what I'd like to be off. That gives you an extra long weekend.
Oh yeah, that the Thursday and the Monday.
There you go. There's a way I saw somewhere, I see it every once in a while, how you can maximize your vacation or time off. And it tells you exactly which days to take all year that will combine to give you the most time off at one time, like most consecutive days off. And there's like, like you just did, there'd be like July 3rd, probably.
Right,
And,
that's cool.
and Monday gives you take 2 and you get 5, right?
Right, exactly.
Well, good for you.
Yeah. Well, thank you for this presentation. This is, oh boy, a lot.
Yeah, I know. So just bang away at it. Kelly will send you out links and emails and follow up for this. I appreciate your time today. We really want you to go through this, whoever's on. And if you want to share this with somebody in your organization, don't hesitate, because you might not be the one that actually works with filtering up new providers and all that. So thank you very much and have a great weekend.
You too. Enjoy this hot weather. It's 97 degrees out here in Lake County right now.
Yeah, it's hot. Isn't
Hey
it?
Al,
Yeah.
could you answer the question in the chat?
Oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah, I mean, if you come back, canceling next Wednesday, next Thursday. Yeah, I don't know. Kelly, do we have a session for next Thursday?
I know we have one on the calendar, but I don't know if we have anything planned
Maybe
for
we'll
UAT.
send out, Kelly, maybe you can send out like something, a poll or something that says, how many are gonna be here or not. I don't know. I know that Olivia had some things, but she's not gonna be here next week either, right?
Right, she's off next week.
We might cancel that. That's a good consideration.
Yeah,
Thanks.
because I know I'm gonna be off that day too.
Good point. Good point.
And
All
I
right.
was wondering about the ONET code question.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Let's see. Al, did you say that it requires them
Three.
to enter 3 ONET codes or that they can enter up to 3?
They can enter 6 or so. I can enter actually, we got time. I'm gonna bump over there. Hold on a minute. So you don't get me going here. I'll give you a little bit of a what this looks like preview. If I can get out of, I hate the way that Zoom puts stuff over top of my, okay. All right, let's go to here. I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you a plus entertainment here. Okay, let me go to let me go here and pick up. Let me see what I did here, because I did one. I did one to completion, and we got all kinds of stuff going on here. This one right here. All right, I'm going to use this one right here. Okay, and I'm going to go back to the home page, and I'm going to put that in here. All right. So when somebody comes in, this is not in our UAT now, but I'm going to show you because I want to get to the training program part. Okay. So I can talk about the ONET codes. They're going to get to this check. So it's when they put in their email, you see it brought in this name, it brought in this, and we want them just to make sure to see if that was already there. Okay. They may or may not do it. That's okay. But we want them to try that. They could even put more information in here if they want to be very specific. And we could see, but we're for sure, if we got this right here, we're going to be able to check. Now, we already checked, but maybe it slid in between the time that somebody completed the pre-screening and the time they get to this part. But when they come back in and log in with their ID the first time, it's going to come in here. They're going to do this, and then they're going to say, okay, no, I need adding. It tells them to complete the form below, describes the provider, give your main location, and save the form. So I'm going to do, I'm going to finish this out. I want to say I am a community college. And then I'm going to provide my information. So I'm going to just say, yeah, let's use that one there. This was in state, so let me just go ahead and do Illinois. This is not going to work. Go ahead and put it there, whatever that is. Oops, should be okay. I'm not surprised that's not. Okay, there we go. The only reason I had that fill in because I had that stored in my web browser. So that's the only reason I did it and said, oh, then you have to fill in the contact. It pulls in whatever. That's garbage from my browser, so don't worry about that. Don't have to do that. That brings in the mail we used before. Okay. And then I'm going to say use the same one as my OEA. I'm not sure why I have to tab through that. And I'm going to say add. Okay. It's going to check that existence of that. It's not going to find it. It's not going to find anything like that. Okay. Now this is my record, my provider record. If I go to training programs, I can do add new training program. And what I wanted to take you to is two things. One is this is where you enter that zip code, okay? Or you can search for it. So if I search for it, and then down, when we get down here, and we're going to get this covered in our next UAT. It's very close. On ONAT codes here, well, I'm sorry, you do have to finish the first page. Um, well, that's okay. We're going to select a year. Now, we have a question here. Is it registered apprenticeship? Is it pre-registered or not? It's not. When this program is active, it'll be on the eligible training provider list. Yes. And then we can provide, we have to get a zip code here. I'm just going to search for one. Use that one. I have to select a location when we only have one, but if you had multiples, you could select multiples that the training program is provided out of. And if I hit next, okay, now we have saved this program and I could come out and in anytime I wanted. So I could do a save and exit. It takes me back to view only mode. I can go back to the entity and I can see this right here. So I can go back in it. Okay. What I wanted to do was take you to, don't worry about any of that. I know I'm clicking around quickly, but here's the ONET code right here. We can search, we can add one, we can add an entry in there, or we can search for those.
So it does show, so it doesn't show if it's in the red, only in green and yellow like?
It doesn't show red. It shows green and yellow. I think is the only thing it shows. So let's look at, let's grab here. I'm glad you did that. So it does show you the demand occupation level. Let me go in here and just do something like that. It shows you a dark brown, a light brown. It uses the same colors you're used to.
So I guess the one that is not highlighted is
That's red.
Oh, that is red. Okay.
Now, some of these we don't have anything on them for some reason. I don't know why. We just took the list we had and ran it up against the ONET codes, and this is what we ended up with right now. I don't know if they're going to give us.
Maybe it's possible that if there's, maybe it just hasn't populated yet. I was going to say maybe if there's no color, no rating, that would be tantamount to being a 0, but maybe not because there's an awful lot that don't have them.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's the same thing I was thinking too.
And also, if you take this here, whenever you click one like that, it goes up and shows you what you're going to save.
Nice.
Okay.
Can you do one without showing the green?
Yeah, it won't
like
show,
yeah,
it won't show
like
anything. It
that.
says NA. It's not available right now. Now, I don't know if we, I just don't, I do know that we do not have demand occupation settings on every single ONET code. I don't know why. I can find out, but we do not have.
Because I use the policy letter that I have changed to that I send out to the providers when I send them a description of all what is needed. And I tell them to look it over and make sure you don't pick nothing with red.
Yeah.
So now with this system here, they could probably pick red, and then we got to turn around, probably either tell them no.
Yeah, they can pick red, but that's a decision. Like, so remember, and I may be wrong because I'm not an expert, but that setting is for the entire state, if I remember right. Right?
Correct.
Now, let's just take like, I don't know, windmills. I could be, or let's make something different. Like it wouldn't be demand occupation, but say coal mining, right? Well, it's not everywhere, but it could, let's take manufacturing. Let's take electric vehicle manufacturing, right? If you were in the area of Normal, Illinois, I believe it is, that's where Rivian is, right?
Rivian, yeah.
And it would definitely be a high demand, right? But
Correct.
if you were somewhere else, maybe it's not high demand. So even though, it's kind of got to be a decision yet, even if, just like your firearm training thing,
Right.
it's probably not. But what if you were in an area where it was a high demand all of a sudden, So that's a decision, that people got to make.
Probably at the local level, you'd have to.
Yes, you got to decide at the local level. That's
as it is, I believe, kind of currently in IWDS, where you would get like an error, like a message saying, this is not
Right.
priority rating, and then you'd have to decide, well,
Yeah.
do we want to work with the provider to petition to get this on the DOTL? So yeah, maybe that's why it lets you pick red so that you could.
Yeah, and then what it does is on those three, it brings the first one in as primary, whatever the first one is.
Mhm.
The second two are secondary, and then other. And you can move these up or down. Okay.
Oh,
So-
interesting. I like that.
So I say,
Yeah, I
well,
think the
no,
initial-
I didn't notice that. I can make that primary, or I can say, no, I want this one primary.
I
Okay.
like that feature. I think the initial question was, and I think Crystal and I, we might have heard the same thing. It's or maybe misheard the same thing. I'm not sure, but it was something about the number 3 came in, was mentioned in that context. And I was just asking, I think Crystal was asking too. I don't want to speak for you, Crystal, sorry. But we were just saying, was it
Well, it says
a
right on there,
minimum of
a minimum
3?
of 3. It
Yeah.
says right on the page, a minimum of 3. What do you do if you have something? We have surgical tech, for example. Surgical tech has one ONET code, period. That's it.
Right.
RN, LPN, those are the same. That's it. There's only one.
Well,
Yeah.
So are you
It
saying,
does say
are
it
you
there. I see it
demanding,
now, Crystal.
are you
Thanks.
demanding 3?
that's what we got right now. And
So you have to put 3.
I will, yeah, if I put in,
I mean, like I said, we could wait until we get to the UAT.
yeah,
for
and I
this
can, and when you
space,
put UAT
put it in
this,
the
we'll
notes.
definitely, if that is an issue, we'll definitely correct it. That's the guidance I had to put this together.
I was
So
going to
if-
say that might be a state. I don't know if you know, Mark.
See that? Provide at least 3
He's on the
here.
Yeah,
comes
call
in.
I
now,
see
but
it.
You see
that
this
would
is
probably
red?
be a state
Yeah.
question. If that's policy.
That
like
was my big concern, because if that's the case, then we need to know what to do about those programs like LPN or RN or
Yeah.
surgical tech or those
then
things.
you're kind of searching for something. Well, I don't know. This could also
So-
be close.
Yeah,
And then that's-
exactly.
something
I don't want to
you-
make up stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're gonna have to pick similar stuff, something close to that training.
Don't you,
And-
when you train for an LPN, don't you have several different nursing things before you even get to an LPN?
No, they're usually all in the
Oh.
same program. I mean, there's anatomy and
Like a-
physiology.
like-
I mean, there's different trainings you could take for being a nurse and stuff, or
Yeah.
CP and stuff. So there is different segment you could do, but Crystal is saying that she had a specific training that's only going to require only one ONET.
Yeah, like if you were already a nurse, I suppose, and you wanted to be an LPN, you would, or registered, yeah.
Yeah.
Then you would,
Hold up.
just
Let-
take that training or whatever.
Let me ask you something. Can you put that ONET code 3 times?
It shouldn't allow you. Let me see.
I mean, you could if
I mean, that's not a way to get around it. We'll build it so you don't have to do that, obviously, but,
Yeah.
which
I
what
would
did I
say,
have? I'm sorry. I had 13.1021. So let me see here. If I put in it now, don't freak out. You're
We're
not
just testing it and see.
you're not gonna have to put in dashes and dots. Right now I am, but
Now hit add code.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, it doesn't do it again.
No, it doesn't.
Now let me do it the other way. Let me do it the other way. Let me see if I can do it the other way. Just to make sure.
yeah, I mean, I would say, like I said, that's probably a state level question to ask
What
them
did
if
I
there's
put
a
it
reason
in?
why they gave you guidance to make it require a minimum of 3, because it's always just been a minimum of 1. And I like the flexibility of being able to add up to 6, because there's certain occupation
Agreed.
training programs like
Nope.
Microsoft Office, or like executive administrative assistants or something, but they could also be an office manager. So there are some training programs where it could apply to a variety of
Okay.
different.
I'm going to make a note of that. Actually, I'm going to make a note of that right now. Nope. Well,
Yeah, and
we're not
keep in
UAT
mind,
enough yet.
being able to add up to 5 or 6, but requiring a minimum of 3, that's where I was like,
Yeah, I
could
disagree
throw people-
strongly with minimum of 3. Well, because you've got things like, okay, CDL, surgical tech,
I don't know why. Yeah, I don't know why.
CNA. I mean, a CNA can do CNA work, but they can't do a whole bunch of other stuff.
Yeah, LPN and RN, it's the same thing. There's one
Yeah.
code. Yeah,
There's
sometimes
one
you do
code.
get that. There could be a couple codes, apply, but then often it's kind of a slam dunk and you get one. And if you require 3, then the LWIA entering or assisting the provider in entering this program, then you're kind of like, you're searching for codes just for the sake of searching for codes. And
Exactly.
sometimes you do need to have up to 3 or 5. That could be applicable, but when you always want to have the option to not have to do more than one.
Well,
If there really
I
is
think
one,
I think what they were trying to do when we do the training, and once you complete it, you qualify to get job placement within this job, this job, this job, based on you completing it. I see what the state are trying to do, but sometimes certain training only is specific for a certain job.
yeah,
And
Well, the
that's
other thing, yeah, exactly. The other thing to keep in mind here is that if we're thinking like providers of LPN programs or RN programs or CDL programs or surgical tech programs, they're very specific. They are training their people for that one thing. That's it.
Okay,
They're
correct.
not going to go searching around to find
that's
other stuff.
fine. Yeah, I'll bring that back up to them, and when we get into this in a couple weeks, we'll make sure that we got that cleared up. So,
That's awesome. So if they decide to go with the 3, you need to tell us what to do.
yeah, what to do? What do we do if it's 3 and we don't?
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay, no problem. That's why we want you involved. Thank you.
Well, thank you again.
Yeah.
All right,
thanks.
I'm glad to get to go. We got to give you a little bit of preview of what's coming. So that's
Yeah,
that whole
thank you.
thing. This whole thing here is coming in, I think, 2 weeks. So,
yeah, no,
Awesome.
that's added bonus. Yeah, nice.
well, probably, yeah, at least 2 weeks, but we got the holiday, but 2 weeks probably. Okay. Thank you and have a good one.
All right,
Thanks,
take
yeah.
care. Okay, bye-bye, everyone.